Apparently good guys don't always finish last, especially when they're ridiculously overpowered. Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me in this light novel review. I'm Justus Stone, and my channel is all about light novels, news, podcasts, and reviews like this one. So if you love light novels, or maybe you're just starting to get involved with them, make sure you hit that subscribe and the bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my future light novel content. In this video, I'm going to be talking about volume number 1 of Suppose a Kid from the Last Dungeon Boonies moved to a starter town. This one is written by Toshio Satou with artwork by Nao Watanuki. It's released officially in English by Yen On with a translation by Andrew Cunningham. If you want to pick up your own copy, I'll have links in the description down below. Now, with an incredibly generic title and, well, let's be honest, a relatively generic plot, you would be not entirely wrong in assuming that this would be a very generic and boring light novel. But amazingly, this one pulls together just the right elements to make it a really actually enjoyable and charming read. The story, of course, is pretty much outlined in the very beginning, right from the title. We have our main character, Lloyd, who lives in a village that is far off from the rest of civilization. And his village, well, we find out really early that it's kind of ridiculous. The fish are actually sea monsters, the trees roam the land and are man-eaters, and every single person in the village is descended from a line of god-tier heroes. And so everyone in the village is god-tier level, except for Lloyd. Lloyd is the weakest one in his village, and everyone kind of feels bad for him, but they also look out for him because they're like, you know, he's such a good kid, but man, he's just so weak. Naturally, this starts to create a little bit of a complex for Lloyd, and he starts thinking, you know, I want to get stronger. I want to learn how to be a better person, and so that I can be more useful in the village. So he decides that he's going to move to the main city, and he's going to join the military, because the military will train him and will teach him the skills he needs and help him to get stronger. Of course, the main problem with that is that Lloyd's already hundreds of times stronger than anybody in the main city. Of course, hilarity ensues, and in the midst of it all, he kind of inadvertently gets caught up in a plot to destroy the kingdom, yada yada yada. Like I said, a very paint-by-numbers kind of plot. But it actually ends up being really enjoyable, and there's a couple of reasons for this. The first thing that I really loved about this book was the voice of the narrator. It's an omnipotent third-person narrator who every now and then will break in to just kind of say like how ridiculous this whole thing is, or that, yes, Lloyd has no concept of what's actually going on, or to point out all of the tropes that are actually happening. It actually is a source of a lot of humor in the book and a lot of laughs, but it's also like you can't really hate on the book when the author themselves is the one pointing out to you all the times that they are using very typical light novel stuff. And honestly, the laughs are pretty good, and they're pretty consistent. And what's nice is that they aren't just based on that one note, one trick pony of Lloyd's so OP, but he doesn't realize it. There's actually quite a number of ongoing running gags that make this funny. There is just sort of one-off gags. The different characters are all a little bit ridiculous in their own way that just adds sort of a nice blend of different humor notes to the book. But perhaps one of the biggest reasons that this one is enjoyable is the character of Lloyd himself. I mean, this is a kid that you just really want to root for. He's incredibly nice. He is entirely selfless. He is one of those people that just wants to do the right thing for people. And what's funny is, and I mean, again, this is kind of the humor of it, is that often he'll want to do something right for someone, and he will, but in the midst of doing that, he'll right about 10 other wrongs just inadvertently, and not even really realize that it's that big a deal. Again, ongoing joke with the whole OP thing. But the one thing that sets Lloyd apart from a lot of clueless, overpowered main characters is because of the backstory. Now, we usually have OP main characters because, oh, well, my master didn't tell me that I was overpowered, or, I am just ridiculously overpowered and I discover it, by accident as I wipe out entire armies and stuff. With Lloyd, the whole thing is that the whole setup of this is that he has absolutely horrible self-esteem. And so you have this really nice kid who really is doing all this good and yet just can't recognize it, not because he's stupid or overly clueless, but, okay, he's a little bit clueless, but in a charming kind of way. But at the same time, you kind of feel like this is a kid, you feel bad for him. You're like, wow, if you just realized how strong you really are and just how much incredible good that you're actually doing, you might feel better about yourself. And so when you have this sort of character arc with Lloyd, it isn't just about, oh, well, he's already perfect, he just needs to realize he's not, weak. But you actually realize that this isn't just about him realizing that he is strong. It's about him realizing that he has worth. It's about him realizing just that he actually is doing good and that he is accomplishing a lot of the things that he hopes and dreams that he one day will, and he's doing it right now. So it gives the character a little bit of a nicer arc, and it makes you kind of feel like there's growth for the character. And like I said, it just makes it so that you don't hate on him because you're like, oh my god, stop being so stupid. You feel bad. You're like, dude, man, you're so damaged because of how these people in your village have treated you. But don't get me wrong, the secondary characters actually add a whole lot to this one as well. And like I said, all of them are quirky in their own ways. A lot of them sort of fill sort of archetype check marks, and of course many of the girls end up becoming enamored with Lloyd. It's like I said, there's a lot of real steady light novel beats being hit in this one, but like I said, there's a nice balance. So we have this mercenary Riho who's got a metal arm. Well, it's not metal, it's mithril, of course, because it wouldn't be good enough just to be metal. But in any case, she's really kind of your typical tsundere type character. But she's balanced out because she seems to kind of have the most common sense of all the characters. And so even though she's, obviously a tsundere archetype, it is kind of nicely balanced with the fact that she is the one that's kind of like pointing out to everybody, you're you're totally clueless on what's actually going on here. Then we have Selene, or Celine? Selene? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. S-E-L-E-N. I guess it depends on whether you're going by an English pronunciation or a Japanese type pronunciation. In any case, she's this girl with this horrible curse that has caused her to be an outcast. And of course, Lloyd undoes the curse completely unintentionally, which is as Lloyd will do. And as in most light novels, she ends up falling madly in love with him. But what of course makes her much more comical is that she's like kind of yandere with this whole falling in love with Lloyd thing. Like, yeah, she's that creepy stalker character. But what makes it nice, though, is that she does have this nice sort of friendship with Riho as well that, again, kind of balances out the yandere tendencies, that you can see that, she's just kind of damaged by how she's gone through life. And then we have Marie the Witch, who fills that older sister type archetype, even though she doesn't really seem to be that much older than Lloyd. She's that really kind and good, has decent morals type girl, and is always there to take care of Lloyd and make sure that he's doing okay. But it's fun because she gets very flustered, especially by the chief of Lloyd's village, who happened to be Marie's teacher. Now, the chief, the lolly grandma as she's often referred, has some really cringy designs on Lloyd, but she is actually quite a funny character, especially with her penchant for throwing tantrums that might just end the world. And it's pretty much up to poor suffering Marie to bring her back and reel her back and kind of be like, no, you shouldn't destroy the world just because of that. And that's just sort of the primary side characters. There's the owner of the restaurant that Lloyd starts to work at. There are military personnel that Lloyd has regular interactions with, as well as other characters having interactions with. There's sort of this really like decent-sized cast for a first book, and yet all of them add something. All of them have sort of memorable traits, and it all just combines to make this really nice, enjoyable read that I found really compulsive just because I enjoyed the journey of these characters. The actual plot, I mean, it was nice, it was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular, though I will say there was one little twist near the end that I didn't see coming, which was cool, honestly. But all in all, this one was really made for me by the characters, by the laughs, and by the narrator, who just kept making sure that those laughs kept coming, and that made me well aware that, yes, I'm quite conscious of the fact that I have written a anime light novel, trope-filled novel. It, all in all, you know what, if you're looking for something that's a nice light read, that's our characters that you can root for and that you can enjoy, definitely this is one that I would recommend. In this video, I'd like to say a special thanks to New Valaric, Mitchell Von Region, Youna, and Kyle Block for their support on Patreon, as well as the support of all of my patrons who help me to buy books to review here on the channel, pay for the hosting for the Light Novel podcast so we can be on as many platforms as possible, and just paying for the general monthly upkeep so I can keep this channel running as well as I would like. For my next review, I'm going to be staying with the whole fantasy kind of thing, and but you know, we're going to take a journey. We're not going to just stay in one starter town, and that is going to be Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elena. That'll be my next review, Kino's Journey, but it's a witch. That's how we all short form it. But yeah, we'll be talking about this one next time. In the meantime, thanks for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.